In the Western world, we need to recognize the increasing wealth of the emerging nations. Since there is only a limited amount of the wealth that can be created, if they have more, then the Western world will have less. In relative terms, we are going to become poor.
Our debts have reached the stage we can hardly pay the interest on them. Not good.
Our mission is to manage this decline for the benefit of our people. It goes without saying that existing methods, such as borrowing vast sums of money, or simply printing money, are not solutions. Our leaders, political and financial, are driving us further into the abyss. The total falseness of the Western financial system means there is no incentive to make it better, because it cannot be made better. It is going to collapse.
I know you evil bankers can't fix a damn thing, and I'm going to be poor, but I'm really going to enjoy this. Bend over. Now, I said now.
It's time for a new thought process. We have developed nice economic and business dealings which are not in line with efficiency, but more in line with personal power and enrichment. There are corrupt practices everywhere, of course, but I am referring to large commercial chains that benefit groups of people and cause the price of the product to increase for no genuine reason. A manufacturer may subcontract a production run, he then sells the production to a marketing company, who passes it on to a wholesaler, then to a principal distributor and finally to a retailer, each of whom adds a piece to the price, the ex-works price from the manufacturer, who doesn't really do the manufacturing, could be double the contractor's cost price. Then you include the marketing and advertising costs, because people have to be told to buy the product, for which they have no real need. Distribution costs then increase the price once again. Add to this the operating costs associated with a retailer, including insurances, taxes, high labor costs, then add their own marketing and advertising costs, and the product could well sell for 5 or 10 times its door price from the contractor. We end up paying $50 or $100 for a product that was made for $10. Contrast this with the Asian manufacturer who does most things himself, sells direct to the major retailers in the Western world, having paid low wages, little taxes, and there are no middlemen. The same product may cost $3 and arrives at the major retailer for $6. The retailer will put on what the market can stand, which is the term for excessive profits. He could sell it at $10 and make a reasonable profit, but his inefficiency and the need to satisfy the greed of the shareholders causes him to charge $50, because people have been brainwashed into thinking that is a fair price to pay. In this way, eventually, all independent manufacturers are forced out of business. The solution for them is to become a marketing company, most probably badge engineering the product from an overseas factory. It is even worse when these Western operators claim to be non-profit religious organizations, or something similar, and pay no taxes. Their profits may be forwarded to an overseas head office in the form of loan arrangements, and we all lose because of this practice. The emerging nations are not dumb. When the major manufacturing operations have gone in the Western world, what the market can stand is applied to their door price and the consumer ends up paying the same as they did with local manufacturing. If they choose, the overseas organizations can have us starve, or go naked, walk to work, or do without the basic electronics for entertainment. They just cut back on production and we pay their price, or do without. In the end, as has happened already in some countries, the labor force is just working for a foreign manufacturer, who will have earlier purchased into the retailing facility to vertically integrate their business, and we only have ourselves to blame. Can we fix it? Yes, we can, and this will benefit 99% of the population. It is the remaining 1% who will fight to the death to stop us succeeding. They are creaming a very nice sum from the public in various forms. They are quite happy to keep the show rolling along on their terms as they begin exporting their operations to more profitable countries. At that stage they don't really care if the Western country collapses. They are all right. There are many different slants to this, and we will explore some of them in the brief time we have. Those of you who have major supermarket chains locally will know of the difference in price between smaller companies like Aldi and the major operators. In the UK that would be of the Tesco Sainsbury type operation, in Australia it is Coles and Woolworths. The same comparisons could be made in the EU and North America. A product that sells for $1 in Aldi would typically sell for $2 or more in the major chains. In many cases local production in another country is exported to Aldi, where it sells at a very low price, whilst the consumers in the country of manufacture may pay double this for a product made just around the corner. The Aldi retailing model cuts costs to the bare minimum, labor works efficiently and the range of products is sufficient for most day-to-day living. The big chains offer much more of a product range, but they have a different costing structure, which means everything is more expensive. Their problem is they have such a degree of market share they are complacent. They don't have to be efficient anymore, they just increase prices to suit their shareholders' requirements. They have become megalomaniacs, increasing their services to take over most of the spending of an individual. People can die at the whim of a staffer in their national megalomaniac. There are many other things that cause prices to rise. One is the use of patents, to stymie competition by prohibiting another company from manufacturing a similar product. The use of such techniques is not the intention of the patent laws. Protecting a process that has been patented is legitimate. Making false or unenforceable claims, not for the protection of the patent, but to cause a court to stop sales of a competitor's product, is a poor use of patent law. The objective is to be the only product in the marketplace for a time, thus gaining very valuable market share and acceptance as the only legitimate product. Naturally, without active competition, the price is much more than it would be in a competitive environment. Another ploy is the extraction of the wealth from the individual by forcing them to use services they don't need and then ensuring they have little alternative. Real estate is a good example of this, but there are dozens of others, including the motor industry's service and replacement parts policies. It is perfectly possible to sell your property without using an estate agent. You could save tens of thousands of dollars in doing this. I have done it.
She has the exclusive agency on a property and she has been attempting to sell it to the gentleman for the last hour.
Estate agents appear to follow a rigid code which precludes being able to undercut the opposition for a considerable period of time. They extract billions of dollars of personal equity from families for doing very little.
My commission on selling your house was only $20,000. What can you buy with $20,000 nowadays?
Occasionally an attempt to set up a competing organization will happen and it will be underutilized and fail after a short time. We then return to the same old story, of exorbitant commissions and price manipulation. Given the nature of real estate in the developed world, you have to question if this is an entirely legitimate operation. I maintain you can have a more intelligent conversation with your cat or dog than you can have with some real estate agents. Yet you pay them thousands and thousands of dollars for driving customers around to see your home. There are better solutions. If the real estate people think they have been unfairly treated, they should consider the insurance industry and the banking industry may be considerably worse.
I offered him on the best credit card rates, the Empire State Building, the Sydney Opera House and Buckingham Palace.
I'm not stupid. The repayments were too high. I only bought Buckingham Palace. I'm subletting. It's too big just for me.
The medical profession is no better in ethics. Doctors will prescribe drugs for patients, whether they need them or not. This time the benefactor is the pharmaceutical company. Of course, the medical practitioner gets financial benefit as well. This also creates a need for medical insurance, caused by the apparent cost of medical treatment. There is considerable doubt if many drugs actually work, and if the body would fix itself if left alone. Obviously, there are drugs that do work and save lives, but it appears there is great skepticism about some of the major essential drugs such as cholesterol reduction pills, which may be nothing more than a fallacy, paid for by a public being fooled once again. People are constantly and falsely being exposed to the fear of becoming ill through massive media advertising. We are sent for tests that are not needed on a probability level. We are referred to specialists who do nothing more than the body would do on its own, given time. Health costs can most probably be cut by 50% without any reduction in the real needs of the patient, especially if scaremongering advertising tactics are outlawed. Banks make massive profits, taking the public's money, then offering them services that take even more in charges and interest. If businesses were operating in a fair competitive environment, with good taxation systems, they would not need to borrow from the banks, hence keeping their own costs even lower. They could invest from their profits, and would not need to pay interest to achieve the same thing. We drive cars we do not need, indulge in luxuries that provide us with no benefit except the satisfaction we are enhancing the lifestyles of those taking advantage of us. If we didn't have a mobile phone, we would make the call from the office when we returned, just as we did in the past. Good daily scheduling makes us more efficient and costs nothing. Mobile phones can then be used only for emergencies and costs almost eliminated. Such a thought is incomprehensible to the modern generation with the cell phone surgically stitched to their ear. If we want to survive as nations, then we are going to have to think of cost reduction. We need to save wherever, and as often, as we can. Try to examine and see through the brainwashing that forces people to use mobile phones and many other high-cost things. Do a critical analysis on the ads we are exposed to every day. If we really needed their products, we would be queuing up to buy, and there would be absolutely no need to waste money on advertising. We have public service officials whose sworn duty is to work for the benefit of the citizens of the country, yet they amass a power base and direct what they want to happen, on their terms, for their benefit. They form cliques and exclude those they do not like. They set down local laws and regulations that increase costs for everyone, which has a cumulative effect on pricing of everything we buy. In many cases they seem to have a policy of making things as hard as possible for everyone, not as easy as possible. Democracy is just a faded memory in the Western world when you encounter the system they work in. Remember, you don't need qualifications to run the country or the district. You don't even need to understand your job. All you need is a legible signature on the things you want approved into law. We are heading for an uncertain future where 2 or more major enterprises effectively run a country between them. The exception is where a single multinational takes almost all control over major decisions. We send our defense force overseas when it could be making a major contribution to the social structure of its own country. We are brainwashed into buying products we do not need, yet demand more wages and salaries to be able to afford these. Our elections are decided, not by the electorate, but by the media barons, who tell us how to vote, and what the result will be before the first vote has been cast. We are in a bad state and things will get much, much worse. Remember, time does not permit me to explore more than the surface of the problem. So, what do we do? There are 2 things that are important. We need to reduce our costs and make our economy much more competitive and with a manufacturing base that is successful. That will keep people in work. Then we need to trim the excesses to give us the goods and services we need, without wasting money on these excesses. We all need a car, but we don't need a 4-liter 4x4 for one person to commute to work in town. We need good quality, nutritious food that keeps us healthy and tastes good. We do not need sugary, starchy food, loaded with bad things, just because a manufacturer makes more money from us by doing that. We need less advertising because that can amount to a large portion of any purchase price. We need less disposable items, and more that last and do not need early replacement. We need a health system that doesn't force medical practitioners to have to insure so heavily against malpractice that their charges are prohibitive. We need education that focuses on the things that will build the country. Above all, we do not need people egging us on to desire more inappropriate goods and services, thus artificially increasing our costs. We need to be able to look at our needs and be satisfied if they are met, not exceeded. On the education side, there needs to be a solid core that provides every person with the tools to enter the workforce and be successful in it. We need to eliminate elitist factors, such as ensuring the level of education is directly related to the usefulness to the country. Tertiary education is a base only and has no value outside the tertiary institution. It is work-related education that is so important. We should encourage more and more effort to be made in training people to work efficiently and effectively. In doing so, they are more likely than not to make decisions that enhance society, in addition to meeting the needs of their employers. If I return to my initial statements, there are numerous organizations who have a desire to make things better. Some get bogged down on ideology, some are keen, but lack the ability to get things done. Others are simply fighting a very big enemy and get crushed by brute force. Some are belligerent, and don't make many friends. Some have leaders with ego problems, for whom being seen to be running the organization is more important than achieving things. I could go on and on. We need to identify those who have a real need to make the Western world more secure for its citizens, who are willing to work together and who will play a major or minor role, depending upon their ability. There is no benefit in trying to amalgamate these organizations. They need to do their own thing to the best of their ability, but to dovetail in with others and find the best overall options for this secure future. It's worth thinking about, isn't it? If you have, or envisage having grandchildren, do you really want to do nothing and accept the responsibility for them growing up to be poor? If we focus on making changes for a secure, dignified lifestyle in these changed circumstances, then we will have done our best for them. Needless to say, those who need to restructure can be expected to offer the most ferocious opposition to such thoughts. Even as they do so, they may be planning their exit to more profitable environs.